Everybody, how is it going? I am Lucas, and today we're going to be checking out the brand new album from Unearth called Extinctions. The last time we heard from Unearth was in 2014 with the album Watchers of the Rule. I recently have just been getting into Unearth heavily, and whenever they released their very first single, which is actually the very first track off this album, Incinerate, I was super excited because the track itself it's a very good track. It starts off with a heavy riff, and it keeps with a heavy Unearth riff, and it keeps that through most of the song. And then up until the bridge, when the bridge kicks in, the song kind of shifts gears a little bit, and we get some sweeping arpeggios on the guitar going on, and they keep that for a while. That's a good meaty chunk of the song. Then after that, it goes back into the opening riff, and it sends the song on home. This is a great opening track for the album. It's nice and strong. This was the first stuff that we've heard from them since 2014 when this single dropped, and it was just such a kick in the face. It was so great to hear. So the next track that is going to be on the album is called Dust. This one starts off with some harmonized leads, and it goes into a heavy hitting verse. The chorus is somewhat laid back, more open, kind of your Unearth type chorus. So they're pretty famous for doing that type of chorus. Halfway through, we get a breakdown, and we actually get our first guitar solo of the album. Coming out of the breakdown, the song ends with a chorus riff, but it's just modified a little bit. Dust is a very good song. I like the song a lot. It's a very good, strong song, just like Incinerate is, sitting at the top of the album. It's very good. Coming off of Dust, the next song is going to be Survivalist. This is another one of the singles that came out. The song starts off with the singer saying "Survivalist," and it goes into some standard Unearth riffing. This song is a little bit more straightforward than Dust and Incinerate. It's not one of my favorite songs on the album. It's a good song, but at points it gets a little bit boring. So if the songs above it were great, this one's just kind of okay. Still a good song, you know, but it just doesn't go that extra mile that the ones above it did. So the fourth song, Cultivation of Infection. It sounds like a death metal band. Starts off with some spooky clean guitar. I got some sound effects going on. It's a real spooky atmosphere, and then it kicks in with a heavy half-step riff, so it's like really like harsh sounding. And then it goes into a driving verse. The chorus is a little bit more laid back, like we've seen before. It has a halftime feel to it. This repeats twice. Then we get some more clean, spooky guitars going on towards the end of the song, which goes into a heavy ending section, which is kind of full of double bass. This is one of the more interesting songs on the album. It changes a lot. It has a lot of interesting things going on. It throws a lot of things at you. It doesn't get really boring. The next one up is number 5, The Hunt Begins. This song starts off with some double stop leads, kind of like what we've heard in the opening of Incinerate. It goes into a cool string bending a riff. That they kind of use that, like it's like a da-da-da-da-da-da-da type of thing going on, is what I mean. The verse is very busy, and the chorus is very interesting because it sounds more like a verse, which isn't bad. It just kind of the way it goes into it feels kind of weird and kind of interesting. Halfway through, we get a breakdown, and the opening riff comes back in. Coming out of the breakdown, we get some clean guitars with a mini bass solo. At this point, I like this because you can actually hear the bass, and it's cool. Will Putney is the guy who did this album. He engineered and he mixed it. There's too much bass in it. Whenever I'm listening to it in my truck, it's very overwhelming. Even on my computer with my sub, it's a little bit too much bass. It's cool, but just a little bit too much bass. For my taste, anyway. After that part, the ending section is really cool. It's more laid back, and we get some more harmonized leads. Once again, another interesting song, keeping things fresh, throwing lots of things at us. I like the cool little bass mini. So number 6 is Hardlines Downfall. It starts off with guitar with a lot of bends, kind of like that riff we got before. Dun da loud, dun da loud, dun da loud, dun da loud. I like it, but it kind of goes on for a little bit too long, and they don't harmonize it, and there's kind of nothing interesting going on underneath it. At that point, the verse has a lot of double kicks in it, then it brings back the intro riff of the chorus. Halfway through, we get a little semi-bridge. It doesn't stay too long. Then we get the chorus again, and then we get a nasty breakdown after that, which ends the song. For being in the middle of the album, a little past halfway, the song, once again, it's kind of boring. It doesn't have things that like grip me. And I guess you could say, like I said, there's not a horrible, like downright trashy song on this album, but if I had to pick a weak one, Hardlines Downfall would be a weak one. Now I can see how people can love it because it's very hard in your face, but it didn't grip me like some of the other ones do. King of the Arctic, which is going to be number 7. This one starts off with some clean guitars, and it kicks in with a classic Unearth riff. It has a very busy verse. The chorus riff has a cool feel to it. Halfway through the song, we get a shift for a bit that gets a little crazy. It's very busy, and then it slows back down for the solo. Then after that, we get the opening clean guitars again, which then shifts back to the chorus riff. Overall, this song is better than Hardlines, Downfall. It's okay. It's a little bit better, but once again, it's not one of my favorite songs on here. Coming up to number 8, which is Sidewinder. This one starts off with a cool bending riff. As you can, they got a lot of these in there, and then the song starts off with a Slipknot type feel. The chorus for this song is very odd. It kind of goes into it kind of weirdly. It feels kind of disjointed. It doesn't feel bad, but it kind of feels all over the place when it comes to the actual chorus. Halfway through the song, we get a build up to a breakdown, which actually ends the song. I don't like the chorus on here because musically it's weird, lyrically it's just sidewinder, and it's like some big reverberation and delay on it. This song sat weird with me for some reason. Number 9, No Reprisal. This is actually a better song on the album. Starts off with some tapping at a slower tempo, then it picks up for the verse. Chorus is very classic Unearth type chorus, laid back, halftime feel. Harmonized leads, and we get a song shift halfway through it, which keeps it fast, it keeps that feel of verse. And then after that, it goes back to the halftime chorus. And after that, goes back to the halftime chorus, and that's how the song ends. Overall, another strong song that keeps things interesting. It doesn't get really boring. I kind of wish this would have been the last song on the album, because the very last song, One with the Sun, this song kind of gives me a survivalist feel, I guess you could say, kind of in the way how it's built. It opens up with the guitar riff, and it goes into the verse, which is a little bit slower. Then when it opens the song, it slows down for the pre-chorus, picks back up for the chorus. A little more than halfway through, we get a song shift, which we've seen in a lot of these songs. Drums stay the original tempo, everything else goes into a halftime feel, and that's kind of how the song ends. It ends epically with some strings. It's one of the only times that you actually hear strings prominently in the album. It's a good closing track, as to where it I have this thing with closing tracks that they give me a hint of sadness that the album is over. And I can't, it's done, it's time, you've listened to a lot of great stuff and it's over. So it's a good ending track in the way that it's built, if that makes any sense. From an actual full song standpoint, it wasn't a good song per se to send that album off on. It wasn't horrible. I just think that No Reprisal is a little stronger than One with the Sun. Overall, this album is good. For being the fact that it's been 4 years since we've heard from Unearth, I've heard some albums from bands this year that haven't had an album in 4 or 5 years, and the album completely flopped. I was so disappointed. The album just they regressed. They definitely didn't regress. They're definitely still alive. They're definitely still kicking. The biggest issue I had with the album, production-wise, it was fine. Will Putney did it. Had a little bit too much bass for my taste. Putney's flavor, whenever he makes stuff, tends to be a little bit darker, a little grungier, which fits Unearth's style a little better. My main problem with it is that sometimes stuff got boring. The guitars in some of the songs didn't really go anywhere, and the drums really saved this album in points because they kept things interesting, they changed things up, kept it from being monotonous. Because I find some of the boring songs like Hardlines, Downfall, the guitars didn't really go anywhere riff-wise. They just kept kind of repeating the same thing over and over again. Overall, I'm gonna have to give this album a 4 out of 5. There's some very good songs on here. Like I said, that 4-year break, sometimes when bands do that, they come back and they're worse than before. I've definitely experienced that here, like I said before, but this is a good album. I mean, we do get new Unearth, which is a great thing, and they definitely delivered. Is this their best album? I really don't know. I'm going to go out and I'm going to say no, that it isn't their best album, but it highly is far away from their worst album. This is a very, very good album to end the year, and I'm happy it didn't let me down, because it's been let down a lot this year in 2018. So enough about me. What do you think about it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Where would you rank this among Unearth albums? Let me know in the comments down below. So me, I'm gonna have to be out. Peace.